tell us a little bit about your journey because the 27,
Yeah,
it's a big number.
it's a really
So,
big number.
so tell us a little bit about that. And the reason why I want to start there is for me, I'm 32 years old and I haven't, God willing, had any major issues so far. But as I get older, and you've probably begin to see this now because you're more aware of it, I'm beginning to see more and more people going through health issues, particularly
Yeah.
mental health, right? But in your situation, tell us about this and your state of mind when you're going through it.
Yeah. So I would say when it started, I started getting sick in my late or mid to late 20s and spent a lot of time not knowing what was wrong with me. I spent about 6 weeks at Mayo Clinic up in Minnesota, and they diagnosed that I had a paralyzed stomach. And so I started realizing that was essentially I was vomiting all the time. And so they figured out there was like a mass in my stomach and my stomach was paralyzed. And so I would have trouble eating. So I adjusted to that. And then shortly after that, within a couple of years, I was diagnosed with Addison's disease, which is a disease of the adrenal glands, also with hypothyroid and hypopituitary. So your pituitary is a little gland in your brain, and mine functions like it has a tumor on it, but thank God there's no actual tumor. It just functions like it does. So nothing really works right. And what happens with some of these diseases is they compound and create other diseases. So when I started being treated in 2015 for my paralyzed stomach, the doctor said, there is a chance this will affect your pancreas, which is the first time I had heard of that. And I was like, okay, no problem. And then Addison's disease, I take steroids every day, and long-term use of steroids leads to osteoporosis. So I have osteoporosis. And then as my body got more sensitive, I ended up with celiac, so I can't have any gluten. And then the pancreas disease is what's really changed my life. I would say when I was beginning to get sick with the pancreas disease in 2015, the fall of 2015, I was really mentally strong and like mentally persistent. And I have been on my own since I was 17. Nothing really has come my way that pushed me down like this. But after a year filled with feeding tubes and procedures and weeks-long hospital stays and surgeries, not to mention debilitating pain and constantly vomiting, I was definitely mentally worn down. In December of 2016, I had a surgery called the Whipple, and that's where they removed over half my stomach, half my pancreas, my small intestine, my bile duct, and I had previously had the gallbladder and appendix removed. It was an 18-month recovery. The first 6 months, I was in a wheelchair and really bedridden. So about 6 months after the surgery, I was diagnosed with PTSD. And I was really surprised. I really thought that was like just for veterans. I didn't realize you could have it from something else. So thankfully, I have a hugely supportive network around me with medical professionals, a therapist, and my husband, who's amazing. So, but 27 procedures. I've had several surgeries of those procedures, but I've also had what's called a TPAIT, or total pancreatectomy auto islet transplant. And that was in November of 2019, where they removed the remaining part of my pancreas, harvested the islet cells, which is what produces insulin in your body, and transplanted them into my liver. So that makes you a type 3C diabetic, insulin dependent. So I now have that as well. So you can tell they just snowball into more and more things. But you really learn how to live with all of it, believe it or not.
I was just going to say one, maybe two, can have someone feeling like it's the end of the world.
Yeah.
And here you are, 27 later,
Yeah.
still happy, still smiling.
Mhm.
You have this wonderful, and I love that you mentioned that you have this wonderful support system. And for those listening, your support system to me is like you're running the race in your life. They're at the finish line cheering you on. When you want to stop, they're the ones that's giving you the energy to keep going. And it is very, very important because I look around some of my friends these days and the stuff that they're going through. I may not know your husband, but it's the way you have spoke about him, sorry, and the way you spoke about your support network. I want to be that way for my friends. I want to check in with them and say, "Hey, how are you doing? Is everything okay? Do this, do that." Because I could just imagine, let's say it was just you alone
Yeah.
going through that. I can just imagine your state of mind would be vastly different. Would you say the same?
I wouldn't have made it. I mean, he is absolutely the reason. I have a vivid memory. Ironically, I don't have a lot of memory from the past 5 years because I've been under anesthesia and been on significant narcotics for so long, that I just have not remembered a lot, which I think is a blessing actually. But I have a vivid memory of one of the days I was in the hospital and I had been feeling my body just shut down. My kidneys were shutting down. My whole system was shutting down. I didn't even have enough strength to raise the hospital bed, which is automatic. I mean, you just have to press a button. I could not even do that. So I asked him to raise the bed and I told him I wanted to say goodbye, and told him some just little things like, you'll know it's me every time you see a penny. And he was like, no, I'm not listening to this. We are not having this conversation. You are not dying. You better find some strength somewhere else and pull through this. And he is absolutely the reason I'm here today. I would not have made it without him, hands down.